Thanks for coming on, Chris.
What's up, John? Good to see you. This is, I don't know, what, probably like 10 years now. It feels like we've known each other, something along those lines. So, yeah, it's good to be
Our
back.
lives have connected in many ways. They have.
Yes. Yep. I was telling somebody else, I was in a mastermind group with some other people, kind of roofing industry. I think it's an analogy of how, like, everybody in these businesses, we all drive different boats, but there's kind of like the same marinas where we all go back and stop into. And so, like, one of the things we were talking about people's frustrations with like dealing with stupidity. And when you seek advice from others, and it's like this boat idea, and so I drive a different boat than you do, but I know you've been to this location before. If I come up to you and say, "Hey, I want to get a ride on your boat," it's like, I don't want to deal with you. But if you say, "Hey, can you help me, give me the waypoints, tell me what to look out for along this way, look at my boat, do you see something that's not going to make this journey?" And I think this is where the past 10 years of starting in the industry, being a roofer, kind of doing some consulting and then landing with SMA, it's like I've kind of taken that boat in and out of the harbor and reconfigured it a couple of different ways that now I can kind of see what's the different parts and pieces depending on the journey that we're on and kind of pulling from a lot of past experiences. It's been cool. And also now I have a bigger network of folks that it's like, you got a question, you can text somebody. It's just like, "Hey, what's your thoughts on this?" And I think like somebody like James on your team, it's one of those people like see him at shows, communicate every so often, but like oftentimes I just have a quick like marketing question that I'm like, dude, I know James has an idea. And it's like I can send him a one-line text. And the next thing you know, I got a 3-minute voice note with like, this is everything I needed to set some direction. So yeah, I don't know. Life is good, proud, and happy to have people in my network and people like you guys, people at the ProLine team, and then just, elsewhere in the industry that makes life easier when you're kind of weathering a storm in between the
Yep.
ports.
Yep. I love that analogy. It's something that's crazy that you and I have both sold millions of dollars of roofing. This is something I don't talk about a lot, but we've sold millions and millions and millions of dollars of roofing, and we've built them. We've managed those jobs, very similar roles in the roofing industry from that perspective. Coming together with other like-minded people who've actually done something is really, really helpful because you've seen the same pain points. Like we have very similar minds as far as like understanding business and understanding. That's why we connected so well when I was just starting out with ProLine. So like we understand, and we I hope that today our experience can help other people not make those mistakes. Like I want people to look at our boats and be like, yeah, I want to get there. I want to get to that place. My biggest thing is like I made lots and lots of mistakes. So hopefully with our experience, we can help someone listening and watching not make the same mistakes. I don't care if you've been in business for 10 years, 15 years, it doesn't matter. Like there's a lot of things that are changing in the roofing industry. And hopefully what we're talking about today, it some of it sounds like being a dead horse, but guess what? After, 12, 15 years in the business, it doesn't really change. There's a lot of things that the same types of things need to happen. It's just the way you actually do those things is changing is what I see. So I think that let's talk about what SMA is, because I was an SMA customer, and let's talk about like where SMA is today. Because when I had SMA, Kathleen was amazing. Everybody on my team loved Kathleen. My customers love Kathleen. We just were way more efficient when we hired SMA. And so I want to see, where you guys stand now in 2026. Who do you like to work with? Who do you fit with in the roofing space?
Yeah. So I think if we're going to go back to the analogy in the boat discussion again for a second, if we look at all of our roofing businesses, like who we support, if your roofing business is one where you want to be driving the boat, in your best case is, I'm going to drive the boat, plan the boat. Sometimes I can let somebody else steer the ship. Maybe I need to tend to other things. And at times, maybe you need to tend to multiple things at once. You got to go do something in the engine room as well as fix something in the cargo department. Well, if you have a team member like a Kathleen where you can say, "Hey, this is the one that anybody could do. I just need somebody to go tend to that thing in the cargo department so I can go fix the engine." That's what we do. We help you as the owner make it so that you can choose where you're spending your time in the business and working on the things that are most valuable. And so what we do is we provide offshore talent that are trained in the roofing industry to work with you in your roofing business on the softwares you're using, the processes you're doing. And we have a lot of processes that we know we've already built these instructions so that when you come to us, it's something that we can say, hey, even if you don't have a proper instruction manual of how to do some of these tasks, we've served enough other roofers that we know what good looks like when we're doing things like following up with old leads, helping you do job costing on the jobs, following up with your customers and letting them know about scheduling. Like, this is all stuff that we're doing on a daily basis. And so we help it so we get those things off of your plate so that you can focus on all the stuff that helps you grow your business. And so that can look different to different people. What we've realized is there's really two customers of ours that seek us out, and I call them our freedom seekers and our revenue seekers and our scaling seekers. And because both people really want the same thing, but the scaling people, they're looking at it as, hey, we're trying to drive revenue, we're trying to reduce costs, and we're trying to improve profit. And like that is our primary target. Our freedom seekers usually, typically, those are our smaller businesses, and smaller's in quotes here, but the freedom seekers are the ones that are just like, I just want a little bit more space to breathe. Maybe I have a team of 2 people. I've got a sales guy, I got a guy that runs stuff, but I'm still getting involved in everything. And I need that other person to help. And I'm just trying to catch my breath again. And so our revenue of what we say for people doing roofs, if you're building north of 150 roofs a year, if you're doing about 150, 200 roofs a year, that's a good starting spot. But we support a lot of clients that are much bigger than that. And we found historically some of the guys that were smaller than that for us, it really isn't the right time for a lot of people. They don't need more people. They just need the right, maybe usually software or a tool to help them accomplish what it is they're missing on like one critical gap. And so what we found is like, hey, having a tool like ProLine, if you have an AI agent to answer your phones, you really don't need a VA to help you. You just need somebody to help take off, your answering, your appointment setting, and this. Once you've gotten this covered, you've got enough bandwidth back. And so we're really looking for guys that come to us or gals that come to us and say, hey, I need help in the back office. If it's just answering calls, setting appointments, a lot of times we're steering those to go to an AI, just like you guys have built into the tool. Start there, get to this level where you're building this many roofs. And I know you're going to have these other problems that you're not able to support yourself. Then it's time to talk to us. And so we've kind of changed over the past few years of just figuring out who our customer is and making sure our process is set up for the right customers, which is kind of like where a lot of my journey started with SMA. It was like I met Dave Sullivan through the Roofer Show. And it was like, hey, I need this thing because we've solved this lead problem, we've solved the sales problem. And now we're at the point we're doing enough that I need more of my time off my plate. And you literally came back from a show, you emailed me and you're like, hey, you got to check out this company called SMA Support. And I was like, what is it? And then next thing you know, hired a team, and my family, their roofing business has now been using them ever since. So it's funny how that all worked out.
Interesting connections. Just going back to the size of a company, whether you've done standard operating procedures. I have a lot of these these little notebooks. I have lots of them over the years. I look back on them. I just encourage people in general, whether you're, looking for a new software platform or you're thinking about SMA in general, you got to know the list. It's just a checklist of things you're supposed to do for every part of your business. I guarantee this. If you've done it before, even if you did it 6 months ago, there's something you're missing and something that you can improve. And so take accountability for, as a leader, to do those SOPs. So that's what I did whenever I knew I wanted to hire SMA, I had it all. I thought I knew everything. I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. And it was super helpful because the onboarding team SMA was very thankful. And then we had ProLine. So there's a lot of automations to help that in general. I was super impressed. And I'm sure your team gotten even better with helping me understand my process and saying, hey, this sounds great, but maybe we could do this and this and this, and it may make it even more efficient. And the way that you guys, I also like this where it's just very well documented what we do in our company. And so if Kathleen got sick or went on vacation, somebody else could at least see a document and help with that.
Yep.
That's a huge thing for me because we never missed a beat on any part of what we did. And the role, I don't know if this has changed, but the role that we had Kathleen doing was essentially inside sales. She really had 2 roles. She had inside sales and she had kind of like production management. Because we were pretty small, she could do both roles. That was before we sold our business. That was the next hire at SMA. We were going to have, she loved the production management more than inside sales. So we were going to have someone take the role we would have 2 SMA agents that would actually help us on our team. So just again, know your roles, know your SOPs, and kudos to SMA because you guys really understand the roofing space and understand processes. That's a huge part of what we try to do at ProLine as well. We want to understand business acumen and roofing industry and processes for actually creating a successful business. That's what most roofers want. I don't care if you're doing 150 roofs a year or 1,000 roofs a year. You need someone to help you, like SMA, to actually execute. We all have these ideas, and we have them on the little notebook, and we've gone to the conferences, we've done the workshops, but SMA helps it actually really happen.
Yep. Yeah, and this is one of the things that you said is like Kathleen, when she was working with your team and you plan to expand, like she said, hey, I liked this production stuff better. And one of the things that we have always done a good job is recruiting people, screening them, making sure they're a good fit. They're going to be on the phones. But some people have different tendencies, just like all of us do. Like you have a great
Mhm.
sales manager on your team, you have a great production person. I bet they're probably a little different in how they work, what they like to work
Mhm.
on. Same thing with your finance person. He or she's probably a little different too. And so one of the new things that we rolled out, and this is really kudos to my counterpart, Adam, in the business, we launched this tool. It's called Predictive Index. I've heard about it through one of the guys in the contractor dynamics arena circle. I think it's Brian Alexander. Like he's a predictive index guy in the roofing industry. What it is a tool that basically helps you understand how do you work, what is your natural tendencies across a couple criteria. And what we've done is we've matched how do people work and the roles that we are going to staff in a roofing business and what types of peoples do we need for what types of roles. And so when we look at somebody who, when we support a lot of our smaller customers that are going to start with one person on their team, a lot of these owners, we know exactly what they're going to face and what they're going to do. And it's going to be, I have a Swiss Army knife of problems that every day is a new problem. And I need you to kind of be able to handle change and various things across the board. Versus some of our larger guys, when you have in gals, when they have a team of 4, team of 5, we're going to be a little bit more definitive in what the roles are. And especially with some of these scopes in accounting work, when we get really specific, it's like, I want somebody who is very steady, who doesn't question the rules, that is like, that's my tendency, versus somebody who says, hey, I'm free if the SOP says this, but you're asking me this. I can flex and adapt and be okay taking this different direction. And so we understood that, we had some experiences with clients where it didn't go well. And when we looked into it, it was that mismatch of, oh, well, clearly this person wasn't a good fit for this role. So having this new tool is one that we offer it for our roofers that work with us, where we can say, how do you work? What are you like? And we can really make sure we give you that one team member who's going to work with you well. And like me personally, I have an assistant staff through our business, and she knows based on my predictive index report kind of how I work and how I operate. And so it's been really helpful for me because she knows the stuff that, as the kind of marketer, promoter, sales guy for the business, what do I not do? It's the same stuff that every salesperson doesn't do. It's like, I don't check my emails as often as I should. I don't follow up on things I need to. And she's my reminder, holding me accountable. And truly, that's what most of these smaller companies, when they come to us and they say, I just need some help, it's like, I just need somebody to help me keep accountable with the things I said I was going to do last week, this week. And so, people out there, if you're wondering, like, man, I don't even know where to start, like, we're having problems, everything's screwed up, I grab my Post-it notes. Start here. You all have walls. So you got Post-it notes, you got a wall, map your process out. And so this can be various ways of how you're going to go about thinking through this, but it could just be documenting what happens each step of the job. So you have your marketing phase, you got your sales phase, production, and then collection, let's call it. And so write down what's supposed to happen. Maybe you start by writing down what issues do you have in each of these phases. Because typically when you see the issues that are popping up, this is giving you the opportunity of, hey, we probably don't have a good framework or a process about what we're supposed to do here. And this is why these problems are happening. And so to simplify it, let's say you're a roofer out here and you say, man, business is slower than this spring than I'm used to. I need more leads. And so, okay, there's probably no other problem you need to solve before get more leads. Well, start putting a process together and say, I need more leads. Well, what does that look like? Think through the ways that you could generate those leads, write those down, do an idea exercise, put some post-its on the board, and think of a process, something that you can do each week, each day, and continue to do, because the results that you're looking for aren't coming overnight. They're not going to happen because you paid Google or you paid Angie or somebody else. You need to think of a process that you can do repeatedly and hold yourself to that will produce results after doing a number of repetitions of that process, and not lose sight of that. And our problem, typically with the American salespeople we get, they lose sight of that shiny object so quickly. And so this is where having somebody like an SMA team member, whether you hire us or you get your own assistant, like having that right person to help you stay on top of that stuff, where you say, hey, I need somebody to do outreach and call local realtors for me to try and set up a meeting and just introduce myself. Because if I do it, I'll do it for 2 weeks. And then I'm gonna be like, oh, it didn't give me any roofs right away. Yeah, I'm not gonna do
Yep.
that anymore. And so having somebody helping you be accountable to say, this is my goal. I need this many leads. I need this many sales, like back into it. Let's build a plan that will produce some of these results, and know that it's going to take time. But if you start building a process for a couple of those things to solve issues that recur, this is how your business improves. It grows. It stops having those problems because you've built a process around it.
Yeah, once again, you're talking about execution here. Like actually doing a thing. We can post-it notes all day long. We can whiteboard all day long. You got to actually do it consistently. And you got to be ready to receive. If leads are the problem, I'll shout out Brad Akers, day 41 Thrive, join the team. Neighborhood domination plan. Like do that. It's not going to happen in a day. You've got to dominate neighborhoods for inspections. You've got to use you got to use door hangers, postcards. You got to use yard signs. All those things matter for getting leads. That's just a side quest, quick tip, because you need to actually understand that type of thing. But again, I just did a whole like 14-minute podcast last week on, it was somewhat of a rant because I was trying to find home services for a house we're about to buy. And these were not small jobs. And I couldn't get anyone on the phone. I couldn't find any like calendars on anyone's websites. All the websites were down. No one's answered the phone, voicemails. Like SMA helps you make sure that's not you. And that was a huge thing for me. I was like, oh my gosh, I would answer the phone really well. And we had an answering service and it was fine. I'd give it a B plus. But having somebody who's dedicated on your team to make sure all the hard work that you're doing, we can talk about lead generation in different ways all day long. But if you don't answer the phone and you're not responding to every new inquiry immediately, like you need to stop everything right now and make sure that's happening. Because I promise you, because I was good and I still missed stuff until I had Kathleen on my team. I didn't realize how much I was missing or how much I was letting, after we got the new lead in, how much was slipping through the cracks, because she would expose that pretty fast. Like, hey, this is the next step. You're not doing that. I'm like, oh, crap. And that's a huge deal. All those Post-it notes start to change. You're like, oh, I need to make sure this is happening. It's just a process problem that someone like SMA can do for your business. And it was very eye-opening for me. Like it was I'm very, very thankful
Well,
that you
that's
guys
what
have the process.
I think the thing that I always remind people of too is that what we do, there's not really any secret sauce to it. There is to some degree, but at the end of the day, we're just saying do the stuff you're supposed to do. Like it's that simple. And so when I put down kind of my top 5 things I see most roofers that aren't at the business point that they expect to be or wish to be at today. Here's the top 5. And, you hit the first one, which is that speed to lead. And so we had speed to lead, a VIP line for your customers, looking for more work on jobs that you're already going on, figuring out a process to rehash your old estimates, and then figuring out a process to get reviews and referrals from all the clients you do work for. And so I figure we can talk through each of these because we're not here to market SMA. And if you can walk away just knowing, oh shit, if I go do these things, I can go make some more money.
Literally just
Perfect.
one of them. Just do one of them and you win.
Dude. And this is where it's like, I was talking about this at RoofCon. And one of the things I said was like, I'm going to talk about 5 things, but the number one thing you need to take from this is you should do one. Pick one, do one, and figure out which is the one where you have the most problems first and start there before you consider anything else. And so the speed to lead one, like it's tough for me to recommend humans to answer the phones for most small businesses anymore. And I'm talking the guys that are out there, if you're doing less than 100 roofs a year, you may think that you need a real person answering the phones at all time. And so you're not going to have an AI, or you're not going to turn on the ProLine AI agent if you have it set up in the CRM. But the reality is you have customers that you're going to meet with and talk to, and somebody's going to call you, and that
Yep.
lead's going to go to a voicemail. And
Windshield
then
time. Again, going back to your experience, you've been out there
yep,
selling millions of dollars. It's impossible
we
for you to answer.
I'll never forget. This is one of those, like, all the stuff, and I look at the iterations of ProLine, and it's the same as SMA of like, we learned a lot of these things the hard way. And like, I didn't even have an answering service until we had a windstorm, which is like once in every 20, 50 years. I don't know. It doesn't happen often in Detroit. And I just remember I had, I think, 71 voicemails because everything went to my phone. And I had already moved us from everything goes to the voicemail at the office in the house and just goes to the machine. I was like, all right, forward it to my phone. I can read it. But that was that first day where I felt truly overwhelmed. And I'm like, I am just going to screw something up here. And like, if you think about, and that was 7 or 8 years ago, in the expectations of customers today, like if it goes to a voicemail, they're hoping you call back. And the person that's going to get their business is the one that does, the one that does first. Like, you're setting that first impression. And so it's like, if you are concerned that my customers won't want AI, well, it's not, do they want a real person or AI? That's the wrong kind of comparison. It's, do they want to go to your voicemail, or maybe get a full voicemail message where they can't even leave a freaking message, or talk to AI? In this case, it's a pretty easy answer. And so we need to stop comparing, like, I'm using AI to replace people. A lot of times it's not to replace people. You're using it to just stop that gap. And then you can have it talk to the people if you need it. And so we've taken a really active role, because people would come to us and they say, well, your whole thing was speed to lead. You're talking about how SMA is going to answer my phones and do all this. But the reality is that the technology is getting better and better. And so if I can kind of delegate the time that you're paying one of my team members to a robot for pennies on the dollar, I will gladly repurpose my team members' time to do much more value add stuff for your roof business than screen calls from all these telemarketers and spammers and everything else. Like, how much time does that
Oh
going to
yeah.
waste?
Let me just
Like,
double down on that part. I mean, today I probably gotten 25 spam calls. The amount of time that you waste by having the main phone line go to your own cell phone is insane. Don't do that.
yep.
Don't, this is another, that may be the biggest reason to have somebody answering your phone for real. You become so inefficient just by having that phone on you like that. This is a huge point. Just wanted to make sure that people got that.
Well, and like, I was a client of an answering service, a different one than you guys used, that I know other clients of mine used. And like, I don't want to talk smack on these answering services, because to be honest, they do a relatively good job. After
Yeah.
seeing behind the scenes, like, they do a relatively good job because they have a script. And as long as your script and intake process is set up pretty well, they can have anybody ask the right questions in the right order to get that information. And if they need to jump around a little bit, cool, it'll catch it. But there was always some gaps that was present when we used that, whether it couldn't go into the CRM directly, et cetera. And now, again, it's kind of solved. And where the big difference is today, that I didn't have the luxury of a tool that was available for, you know, 25, 30% of the price of virtual assistant. And we were spending so much on our answering service that I was like, I might as well just get a full-time person to do this for me. But now we've got that new switch where now I can have my full-time remote team member do this and offload that onto the robot's plate. This is even better because it helps me keep my customers from needing two people when I can have one person plus a less expensive tool and give them the solution that they need. It's a no-brainer. So we support a number of people using ProLine AI agents, and then having a human back that up so that when the robot handles a call, the 20-ish or less percent that want to talk to a person, boom, kick it over, talk to that person. But most of the time, or if it's after hours, we'll call you back tomorrow. Great. At least it caught the message when they called you.
Yeah, it's very true. Again, I know we're beating a dead horse on answering the phone, but guess what? People still want. It's not just answering the phone; it's just being available 24/7. You
Yep.
got to be available, and it's like, oh, I can't work for 24/7. Yeah, obviously, nobody wants you to work 24 hours a day every single day. We want you to go on vacations. That's the freedom part of the puzzle, is that not even if you're a small person, small like one man show or 5-person team, or you're a huge company, you have to set things in place that the company is available for every homeowner. Because you and I think we have a service that we work with, like a software platform, SMA platform. But we, because we sold roofs, we think about the homeowner. And if you think about the homeowner that way, then your contractors will win because we felt the pain point
Yep.
of our homeowners upset at us or super happy that we were available. And so the whole point is our homeowners or potential homeowners, prospects, they want our service. They need our service. So make it as easy as possible for your homeowners to contact you and to actually get what they want, which is usually an inspection, usually an answer to something that they need. They want it right now, and they will, to your point. Chris, you're exactly right. It goes to a voicemail, going to somebody else. It's not going to be hard. They're just going to scroll Google and click the next one. And so you got to make that, the 5-star experience starts right then. That's when it starts. And if you want that review, that's when it starts.
Well, you're segueing perfectly into the second point of the VIP line idea. And I know that it's like at this point, there is ways to accomplish what ProLine does by connecting tech tools to say, here's my messaging, here's this. It is possible. I've seen it. It's very cumbersome. But no matter what, even if your comms are separate from your CRM, which I think there's a little bit of an issue when that happens in most businesses because their messaging platform is not connected to their CRM. But if you have that messaging platform, your customers know that that's there, that at any point during the day, hey, at least during business hours, you can text us, you can call us. We have this VIP line that we're available for you. That's what people want because people don't need you all the time. They just need to know that if they need you, you're there. And so, great, I don't need this until I realized, oh shit, I didn't ask you this question. Like, what's a drip edge? Somebody else brought up the thing about a drip edge because they got their roof done and the roofer didn't tell them about drip edge. And they used a white drip edge and it was a black roof and now it looks funny. And it's like, well, if you need anything at any point when these questions pop up, you call our VIP line, we can get these answered for you. Most of the times, AI robots or an SMA team member, whatever that option is, or your own local admin person, like give somebody access to the knowledge they need at a base level to catch those, get a response, or know how to escalate it to somebody else in the business to get a quick answer and give that response back to your client. And if we can set this experience up for our customers so that they know we're available, what it often does, it makes them less needy. And because they know, well, if I do need you, I can just reach out versus the typical expectation of a customer and what they have in their mind as a roofer. I can't get a hold of him. He's going to be unreliable. He might take my money. All of those things. If you set that stage up front, they're not going to look at you the same way just because you're the roofer. They're going to see you a little different.
Yep. SMA, when we had SMA and Kathleen was working with us, going back to all those potential issues you're talking about, one thing that Kathleen really loved when she got on board and she was using ProLine, she loved that every phone call was recorded. I know that not every state has, one party states, but it was a huge deal. And now with summaries, we can pick up like brown drip edge, black drip edge.
Yep.
Like we're not going to make those mistakes. Again, we're thinking about our homeowners, not about our contractors. We want the contractors to win by treating the homeowners well. How about this, Chris? One spouse says black drip edge, the other spouse says white drip edge. And so at the end of the day, you're protecting yourself as a contractor and the customer's getting a better experience because there's no like confusion. Oh, yeah, Mr. Jones said actually that you guys were going to get black drip edge. It says it right here in he made a call yesterday at 9:45. Wait, what? Yeah, we want to make sure that our communication is clear. And that could be not Kathleen. It could be someone else because it's all in the same activity feed. It doesn't have to be ProLine, but everything needs to be recorded and all as much as possible legally in your state needs to be in one place so that homeowner gets the best experience. And when you have a real person that SMA provides, they can just guarantee that all the data is there and then reinforce that to the homeowner and to your internal team to make sure that everyone's on the same page. There's way more efficiency. There's way less mistakes, way more profit. You can just grow your business the right way.
Well, that's it. You keep doing good on these segues unintentionally, but looking for more work. And this is like the perfect segue of how you have either an SMA person or an admin person on your team look for more work. So as part of their job in the CRM, they go in, they can tag this that, hey, John, you're going to go out and do a roof inspection. We pulled up Google Street View. We took a look. The house, also has some old aluminum siding, and the wood siding that you can see woodpeckers have just torn to shit. When you're out there, we should probably bring it up. And then when I call them to let them know you're coming, I'm just going to let them know that, hey, by the way, we also offer siding and gutters just in case he's coming out. I know we're coming out for the roof, but if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them, budget, etc. You can figure out what your kind of script is, but they can help you plan to find more work, whether it's for work you can do today or work you can do in the future for the customers that you land that roof. And then, what are you going to do 2 to 3 years after that to make sure that they are getting new roof siding or new gutters with that new roof? Most of the time, you just let them sit and then hope that you gave them an estimate a couple years ago and you'll see it in your CRM. And so if you have somebody on your team in a process using a tool like ProLine where you can tag these, drop them into a future marketing campaign saying, hey, we did your roof a year ago. Happy birthday to your roof. And then it's also triggered because you needed siding and gutters and you didn't get them done at the time. Boom, it's time either to rehash that old estimate or ask them if they want an estimate and we'll resend it to you because we already explained when we were out there last time, since we've already come out to do an inspection, when you're ready to move forward with these other pieces and parts, just give us a call and we can make it effortless. And so back to how do we help customers achieve what they want? It's like painless experience, easy process. It's not about cost. It's not about being the cheapest. It's about being the ones that is really closer to like an Amazon type experience. All right, let me see it. Let me look, touch and feel it. When I'm ready, I'll pull the trigger. It might sit in my shopping cart for 6 months. And then one day, just get that wild hair and say, guess what? We're getting some new siding. And that's all because I got a random text saying, ready to hit a home run on your siding project, which I love bringing this up because this is one of those messages. I was a ProLine user back in the day, and I thought it was the dumbest message in the automations. I was like, who in their right mind is going to follow up and open something that says you like want to hit a home run on your roof? And then sure as it's like we get some leads, and the ones they responded back to are like that. And it's like, damn it. So even if I had tried to write a lot of those myself, it was ones that like I wouldn't have written some of the stuff that was in there. So when I just went to drop and say, hey, I want to rehash all these old open roofs, drop them in there, hit go. Like that was the thing that brought me in is we weren't doing any rehash, which is to that point number 4, I think, on the discussion of rehashing this. And so whether you sold it when you went out there, maybe you're rehashing and going back after more work because you identified it, or you didn't sell it and it's still open, you should also be rehashing those old estimates and have a process, whether it's using a tool like ProLine or have a person in your business that's going to go out and do it manually. I prefer that I'm going to steer you towards using some sort of tool. And if you're not on ProLine and you call me, you don't necessarily have to switch out of the tool you're on, but a lot of these guys and gals that come to us that are at that kind of 1 to 5 range, it's like, why are you using the tool you're on? And a lot of times they've already considered looking at ProLine too. And so it's like, hey, maybe we start there. We'll migrate you over, help you move your data, get it into the new system. Once that's up and running, you'll work with the ProLine team, get your workflows set up. Then let's see if you need us. And then we can jump in to help. Because if you just need somebody to rehash your old estimates, like you could probably get a good chunk of work back in your pipeline just by doing the automations. And you don't necessarily need the human touch point. But when you're ready for that human touch point, this is where having a human from SMA or having somebody on your team who it's part of the cadence of, hey, the automations run, the texts are going, the emails are going, and then a task gets created for Kathleen or your other inside rep through SMA to call and say, hey, homeowner, just checking in. Every so often, we're going to do this stuff too, because there is still a need for human touch points in these automation journeys, but a majority of them don't need to be. And so we can be a little more selective with when the human hops in versus when we let the robots handle it.
Yeah. We'd have automated task for Kathleen for specific touch, like for those human touch points times. And so she would wake up every day and there would be a list of calls, texts, and emails she would send. And it was super helpful because it reinforced the automations that we already had set. Now we're talking about something, 3 different things, or maybe 2 or 3 different things. In the roofing space, if you build a good roof, you're kind of building yourself out of business, right? Usually, for the most part, you don't build a perfect roof, hit perfect profit margins, the roof never leaks. usually that's the end of your revenue stream. And you're talking about like, okay, well, do you offer gutters? Do you offer siding? Whatever. If you are multi-trade, the only way to do that is to either remarket to that person, which is relatively inexpensive because you already got them in your system anyway, or to have a whole nother marketing campaign, which is increases you're talking about LTV, lifetime value. We're talking about CAC, your acquisition costs, your customer acquisition costs. Those are huge things that we don't really think about enough. And using SMA is one of those ways to increase your lifetime value for every customer. And then it's also to decrease how much it costs to acquire that customer. Because if it's repeat business, costs very little. Not nothing, but it costs very little other than like, new campaign, new ads, like all these things that you have to do just to acquire the customer again.
I
That's how you
learned that
win.
the hard way. Like that was back in the day when I called Dave Sullivan, was like, hey, all right, I got to figure out like, who do I go to for some Google ads? Cause we need to grow. We did like 2.2 million. And then he's like, okay, well, how many open bids do you got? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, what's open? If we got like 4 million in open. He's like, well, why don't you start there? And I was like, oh man, that's a good idea. Cause a new ad running on Google to get you a lead, a couple $100 at best. Those people that are already in your system that you've already talked to, worked for, what's your time? Like, that's it. If you have nothing but time on your schedule, go after that.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, even if let's just get in magical world. Let's say you had all the ability to directly target those $4 million worth of potential customers. It's still going to cost way more using ads. I don't care if it's Facebook ads or whatever, than just to call or text or email them directly. It's going directly to them. So like have a system in place that does that, because it is a lot of time. If you got that many open quotes, then it's going to take either a full-time employee that's calling and texting and emailing all day long, or you can use a system to do it. Like it is, I would say like having SMA helped reinforce that because it made it real. Because then it was like, oh, okay. At one point we were doing, I think 20 a day for our like rehash stuff. And so it would be like an automated call text, and it would be coming from Kathleen. And then she would call them and then leave a voicemail. And then we'd have real human calling, voicemail, text, and email from the same person. We sold a lot of stuff that way. And that's what most people should be doing. Especially, I mean, up in Detroit, it's cold there. In the South, we don't really have tons, but even during the winter in the South, there's still a lot of open quotes. We'd always have millions of dollars of like, these people never said pound sand to us. You should probably reach out to them again until they tell you to go away. And that just, again, side note, how many times should you follow up until they tell you to go away?
You know.
Yeah. Like, trust me. I know I'm sure you have stories out of that $4 million.
The awkwardness of following up so many times, because you're thinking it like, I'd be annoyed if this was somebody else texting me.
Sure.
But then the reality is like you buy shit all the time that was because of a marketing effort, because you heard it for the 12th time and you're like, okay, actually I wasn't putting it off. I just was, other stuff was more important. Now I'm ready to do this.
Yep. And the number of times that apologized to Kathleen, I am so sorry, Kathleen. It was constantly 12, 14, 15. I always talk about the 17-month one. It was like they were apologizing to us for not like even responding. And they're like, we're ready for an updated quote. Send us a quote now. This is human nature. To your point, it's not no, it's just not right now.
Well, and I think there's some things too that we didn't really plan to talk about, but like in this rehash sequence, let's say you're one of the roofers who has already solved a lot of the stuff we've been talking about. How do you differentiate yourself and you say, hey, everybody else is going to start doing these follow-ups and automations. What can I do to be, setting myself apart? Like video is accessible to everybody nowadays. And so this is the next level of how you kind of spice up that rehash. And I've got, the list of videos that you need to shoot is really small. Talking to your customers, it's the same stuff you're going to say to them on site when you go out to give them a sales estimate as you would put in these videos. It's like, here's who we are. Here's the people that work here. Here's the work that we do. Here's the problems we solve. Put these little video sequences into your text automations so that it's just giving them another opportunity to meet you digitally, so that when they do decide to make a purchase and move forward with you, they're already familiar. And so it's like, hey, the person in your office that handles the billing, by the time it gets around to Michaela, it's like, whoa, oh yeah, I remember seeing Michaela on that video that you guys texted me at the beginning of the job saying that she's going to call me at the end. And so if you're thinking, okay, I've done the easy stuff, where do I go next without just spending more money? It's like start to make what you're doing a little better. Hit that video stuff up. I think now is the time we can bring up John Cater, because John's a guy that we've both learned a lot from when it
He's
comes
making us
to.
look cute right now.
He is.
He's done both of our podcast studios.
He did. Yeah. And this was, it's funny because like I texted you and him because my wife's friend, that Detroit homeowner, no reason to watch roofing content, but she watches our stuff now too. And there was a video of you, me, and Dave Sullivan, and she messaged my wife and she says like, I don't want to hear what this guy says while I can see his bed. And so I was like, we've got to talk about this and let Nikki know, hey, Nikki, John has a new podcast studio, courtesy of John Cater. So we no longer see your bed. And yes, he is to thank for both of our setups looking good. So
yeah, if you need a good podcast studio, you just need to learn how to actually learn storytelling and personal branding. John Cater's the guy. He's very good at that.
Yeah, he's got, and a lot of roofers probably don't know him directly, but it's like if you've seen stuff for Top Rep, Chuck Thoke, any of that stuff, like that's John's work, a lot of that. And so he's somebody that like he's got a lot of knowledge in an arena that I think most roofers are trying to get more knowledge when it comes to, okay, how do I do this? And he's a person that I think is a good resource to at least reach out to and then steers you in the right direction. Because if you're thinking, where do I start with these videos? He's somebody that can steer you in the right direction.
Yeah, I wouldn't have fake vegetation behind my head right now if it wasn't for John. So just shout out to John Cater.
Yeah, thanks, John.
But you're totally right. Like if you're telling your own story, which is what we're talking about, the videos and the automations, it does matter. Like these things, you can't, if you're not creative, you really need to listen to somebody like John. It is really important to present yourself. Like we would always do these like automations for beginning of the sales process. Like, hey, thanks for reaching out to us. Watch this 52-second video. We want to introduce Cameron. And we'd have a short clip. Cameron would be like, hey, I'm Cameron. This is my family. And this is what to expect on inspection day. And then we had a videographer. You go out and there was a very short script. It was not time consuming for the homeowner, but when the door opened, hey, Cameron, this is just one of the things you need to be using. Because then Kathleen would also be like, hey, just letting you know that Cameron's still coming at 10. Like he's at another appointment. He's confirmed he's going to this appointment. He's going to be on time. Kathleen calls him, SMA. Hey, just letting you know Cameron's going to be there at 11:30 today. Just confirming. So you make sure that customer experience, again, it's reinforced with an SMA person that's actually helping your team win.
Yeah, think of the process and like the buying journey of our customers. Go to any woman you know, whether it's your wife, your mom, your sister, explain what you do and how you sell a roof, and then ask them, how would you like to buy a roof? Because it may not match at all what you think is the process they want versus what they actually want. And I think what we see now more and more in just the way we as an economy buy things, it is ease of transaction. That is the number one way to get people to spend money, is you make it easy. And so make it easy, make it painless, make it trustworthy, and then you get the sale. So the last thing, which speaking of trustworthy, this brings us to the last point of asking for reviews and referrals. So if you set this up, think back to like the VIP line at the beginning, where if you're there since the beginning, by the time you get to the end of that journey, they feel that, hey, you're not just like the roofer. I'm talking to the lady in the office. I'm talking to Kathleen. Kathleen is now my friend in this journey, and she's been awesome. So when Kathleen says, hey, we're doing a review drive and we're trying to get more reviews because it's really helping our business, and, can I get one from you? Awesome. Put that in there. I saw that Google changed some stuff recently where you can't do putting my employees by name and this type of stuff. So you can still ask for these reviews because I need a review. And then more importantly, if you kind of set these up, I even made little cards where it was like a front back could fit in the backside of my pocket. And I would say, hey, how would you rate us? If you were going to tell a friend how we did on this project, how would you rate us 1 to 5 stars? oh, Chris, you did 5 stars. I'm like, awesome. I'm glad you said that. If you would take a minute and review it, like here's some things. If you have a referral program, review program, whatever, but scan this. And by the way, do you actually have a friend that you could tell about how good we did? Because if you do refer them, here's our program for that. And just bringing it up where it's almost like funny conversational of like, if we keep our prices low by not spending as much on advertising, it helps out everybody else you refer to us because it helps me keep my costs down. So you want to help us help your other friends, family, neighbors, etc. Give them a referral if we earned your business. So that's the way you close it out and feed it back to that beginning of the pipeline so that once you're done with these jobs, you're creating new leads, new jobs for yourself that when that lead comes in from that referral, you're the first one that picks up the phone and that journey repeats itself all over again. And so doing that, that was all learned for me, for you over the years. Like my best year before I got out of the business, we did 4.5 million and I was the only outside salesperson. And we didn't spend on paid ads. We didn't do anything other than using this process where it was just like give people what they want, make it easy, and just do it over and over and over again well. And that is the key to, hitting these margin goals and these revenue goals that everybody's got out there. So I'd close it with like, if anybody out there is listening to this, I think we talk about a lot, but if you have questions, you're like, maybe I'm not SMA's ideal client yet, that's fine. Start with us. We've got a business process audit we can talk through, help you highlight where's these gaps in your process today, whether you need a person from us or you just need to be the one doing them yourself. You can see what you need to jump in and do. And then from there, we can determine what's that right next step. And so maybe it's a CRM migration. Maybe you need to migrate into ProLine. Maybe you need to get your automation set up in your rehash campaigns, but you don't know how to get all those old files and PDFs and documents moved over. That's what you're missing. Okay, get that done. And then call me in 6 months because now you've got, 200 roofs that you just did. And you say, now I need somebody to build all my estimates and help do all the other bullshit that came with all this more work that I was excited for, that hopefully you're selling more profitably. And maybe you're like some of those guys, you get to that 200 roof and you're like, I'm making less money than I made when I was doing 60 roofs. It's like, yeah, it's probably because you didn't have somebody job costing everything. So yeah, happy to help if we ever can. Reach out to me. Love to share ideas. And I think it's pretty easy to see that I'm known for freely sharing information and trying to just spread the ideas of what you should do, not trying to sell you shit. So
Anything else you want to talk about? I thought this is great. I
for yeah, for
you got to do it.
anybody that is looking like our pricing, so it's teams of one, full-time person, remote. It's a month-to-month agreement. It's $3,500 a month. What that gives you is a full-time team member plus a team of a couple more people that are also working to support your business. But like I said, if you're not at that size where you need that full-time person, great. You can still reach out to us. We'd be happy to talk. But when you are looking at least maybe one, two, or three, maybe you're consolidating and trying to figure out how do you replace people that retired that you had in your business that you don't need two of the people you had before. Let's talk and figure out what kind of that transition plan could look like for you.
Yeah, 100%. It's a massive value. It is you know how much it costs to hire a full-time employee, W-2 employee with office supplies, they take vacations. There's all kinds of things that make your company less efficient and it's very expensive. This is a very efficient way to do it. And I've had full-time in-house people before and they're super friendly, super great, nothing but great things. They were not even close to as efficient as Kathleen was. So I it speaks to SMA's training program, the selection process that you have. Again, you don't have to interview a bunch of people, find them. SMA is finding those people for you. Like they're finding the right fit for the right position for your SOPs, for what you need for your business. And there is a team, like you said, you kind of glossed over that, but like there's a team behind them that if anything does happen, they go on vacation, all those things, you want that person to have a life. There's a team behind them that actually steps in so that your business doesn't suffer because they're on vacation somewhere. So can't speak highly enough of SMA. I really think that it is at any capacity, at any type of whether you're supplementing with someone on your team or you're just they the full-time role for your company. It was super. I don't know how long did we work together? It was at least 2 years probably. I can't remember exactly how long it was. It was a couple years and it was a fan. I wish I had done it earlier. I wish that SMA existed years ago because then I would have been way more efficient all those years. So anyway, Chris, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, dude,
I
thanks
think
for having me.
I think that I'd love to do this again.
All right,
All
dude.
right, Chris,
John,
again,
till the next one.
reach out to SMA support.us. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Still
Go
remember
get
it.
that process audit, click on that, book a call, and let's talk through the gaps you got in your business.
Sounds good. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a good day.